it's just an example. Purdue losing to Fresno State is okay. We can still win the Big Ten West. But me,
Billy Napier gets fired. I'm just kidding.
really the best time of the year. I will be seated watching the Red Zone for 7 hours on Sunday.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to an episode of Backyard Banter. Johnny, James, and Tanner. And who said that there's such thing as a down weekend in college football? Only the casuals say that, not us. 6 top 11 teams go down. Alabama, number 1 team in the country, down. Tennessee, number 4 team in the country, down. Missouri, number 9 team in the country, down. Michigan, down. USC, down. You just keep going. What a weekend when there's only one ranked game. So we're not going to beat around the bush. We're going to get into maybe the biggest upset of the decade. Alabama goes to Knoxville, where, James, we've all been to Knoxville. Tennessee football is not a big thing. Alabama was probably 60-40 in that crowd, and they probably have Vanderbilt has the biggest win in program history. And James, we'll start with you because Tanner is going to rip into Bama in a second. But I mean, James, what was your reaction?
It was just it was comparable to when I walked out of the Cubs game into a bar in Chicago and I saw that Notre Dame was losing to NIU.
Yeah.
It was like all right, like who's messing around? Like how that's pretty clever. How'd you make that happen? And then you're like, holy cow. And I watched most of the game, but it was just like you said, Johnny, it was borderline a home game for Bama. Like there's no Vandy fans. Like 90% of the country doesn't even know Vanderbilt's in Nashville. Like it doesn't, like, people don't like understand, like, Vanderbilt is like the slept on team in the SEC, like in everything really besides baseball, right? Like, so I was listening to a podcast clip this morning, and it was a Bama fan saying this is the worst loss in Alabama history. Obviously, like, Bama is not this team that's been good since they started. They were obviously real bad before Saban, like real bad. And they've had some bad losses, but like this has to sting because so they just did the impossible the week before. They beat a Georgia team who's won 42 straight like regular season games, and then they go to lose to Vanderbilt. Like, what are we doing? And I said on the podcast, I was not in on Bama because their secondary isn't good.
Yeah.
And boy, was that right. Jalen Milroy, Tanner and I were talking before we started filming. A lot of people are like saying don't blame Jalen. Like, yeah, he had a fine stat line, 18 for 24, but he had a fumble, he had a pick. So no, I'm going to blame him. You can darn right blame a quarterback. I'm excited to see what Tanner has to say to rip into him. He texted us the other day and said, "I can't wait to rip into him." I am excited. But yeah, what an embarrassing loss. But at the same time, this makes the playoffs so intriguing. Like, what's going to happen? Like, we know Bama's going to be in, right? Are they? Well, we think they're going to be in, right? They have a gauntlet of a schedule. So who knows? But surprising. That's the only word that you can use with that loss.
Yeah, quite the upset there. Vandy beats Bama. I think this is just a reminder to everybody, whether they're in Tuscaloosa or in the South or in SEC country or anywhere in the country, there's never going to be another Nick Saban. Nick Saban doesn't lose that game. Nick Saban isn't within 30 points of Vanderbilt. It's a 50-point blowout every time. If you're Bama, you got to be very concerned about Coach DeBoer. You got players just having episodes on the field, yelling at the coaching staff. A player that's a captain for you. A player that's a captain for you didn't really play his best game, and he's the one hashing out here. Just not a good look for the Bama coaching staff. Coach DeBoer, I mean, I thought originally he could be good at Bama. Might take a year or two to get him back in the playoff. I mean, I know it's early. I don't think he has what it takes because you can't beat Georgia and then turn around and lose to Vanderbilt. You can't give up 40 points to Vanderbilt. That is inexcusable. And I think if I'm a Bama fan, I mean, Coach DeBoer, you got to be very critical of him moving forward this season. I think Bama's in serious trouble now in terms of the playoff because they have a tough schedule. And I'm really starting to question. I mean, a week before I was all in on Bama, but now I'm out. I'm out on Bama. I don't know. It's going to be tough for them to get to the playoff. And Coach DeBoer, man, if he doesn't make the playoff the first couple of years, he's out of there. He's gone. and there will never be another Nick Saban. But yeah, unbelievable. Shout out to Vandy.
Yeah.
They threw that goalpost in the river. Broadway was probably nuts. I would have done a lot of things to be on
I
Broadway
would've
that night. But
Paid so much money to be on Broadway that night.
man, yeah.
You make a good point. Like, shout out Vanderbilt, man. How about Diego Pavia? He owns the state of Alabama. He went
Who?
into Auburn last year.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. He's better. I'll tell you what. Notre Dame would love a Diego Pavia right now.
Oh, come on. Relax, all right? Relax.
But think about it. He went into Auburn last year. I believe, Tim, you might know, he was on what? What was the team that upset Auburn? It was like
New Mexico
something State. It was New Mexico State. He was on New Mexico State last year, and he went in and beat Auburn. Then he goes to Vanderbilt and beats Alabama. James, me and you had the same concern. I said right after Bama beat Georgia that I would pick Georgia again if they played. And that's no indictment. Bama punched him in the mouth, and they barely – it took Ryan Williams and he almost did it again, having an insane one-of-one play to make that game – put that game away. But it's different from Nick Saban losing to Yo Moreau his first year. It's because Kalen DeBoer inherited a roster that is ready to win a national championship right now. But, God, their secondary is glaring. And it was glaring against Georgia. And it was really glaring against Diego Pavia. And that's not Alabama football right there. I mean, go look at the NFL. Just go look who they have in the NFL. I mean, think about it. You guys like Marlon Humphrey. It's not happening if he's there. It's just it's hard to wrap your mind around an Alabama secondary being so bad when Nick Saban coached up so many of them and they put so much DB talent into the NFL. But again, you have to give so much credit to Vanderbilt and their coach down there and what he's building, because it's really hard to do what you're doing at Vanderbilt. It's an academic school. And honestly, football is maybe third or fourth tier there. And it sucks, but hey, they're there to get that part of the revenue check from the SEC, man. I mean, that's what it is. And but I love, like, what a win, right? Like, what a scene. When have you ever seen Vanderbilt like that? Like, what a scene.
Just
Go with it.
punched him
You
in the
know,
mouth.
Unreal.
they did.
Unreal.
The thing that impressed me, they were up big, and then Bama came back. And when you saw Bama cut it, I think it was like 22-18 or something. And you were like, okay, like, Bama's going to win. No. Vanderbilt put the foot on the gas.
Yeah.
And then not only then Bama cut to 5 again. You have to bleed out 243. And they picked up 2 first downs. Like, that is
Easily.
so big.
Easily. On, like, first and second downs.
That Vanderbilt did this to Alabama. Like, Bama should never lose to Vanderbilt.
They put 40 on Bama. That's all you have to say.
And honestly, none of it was cheap. Like, yeah, you had the pick 6, but so Diego Pavia was carving you up.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's why you love college football, man. They took the goalpost 2 miles to the river. They walked it 2 miles to the river.
Unreal.
Like,
here's my question, right? We've seen it happen before. Like, this isn't like a new occurrence.
Yeah.
And Saturday night, I'm sitting there at the bar and I'm thinking, how do they get that thing out of the stadium?
I think I saw something.
Like, how does that happen?
Where they got like a big grabber. Like, they had to send a rescue team in to get it, which is so freaking awesome.
But like, how does one mind think? Okay, yeah. Like, I get the idea. Like, it would go in my mind. Like, hey, let's steal the goalpost. But then I'd look around like, all right, how the hell do I get it out of here? Like what in the world is going on? Like, it's crazy. And if you're Vanderbilt, you're like, sure, we'll take whatever fine you want to give us.
$250,000.
Yeah, fine us $5 million. We don't care. Like, it doesn't matter.
Speaking of another fine, we'll go to another storming the field fine. First of all, you know who's never stormed the field before? University of Florida, because they don't believe that. They don't believe in that.
They don't get the big wins.
That's not true. I would have stormed the field after we beat UCF personally, because that was amazing. But how about Sue Pig, man, Woo Pig? Arkansas takes down Tennessee, and I'm going to say this now. Tennessee was the most fake offense in the sense that you can put up 70 on Kent State, and that's really cool. And I said this on the podcast last week. Some of their numbers are inflated because no one watched the NC State Tennessee game. You're just going to keep it a buck. Or you watched parts of it. And you see, they won 54 to whatever. They had a pick 6, right, in that game. And Nico, who I said again last episode, you can see the talent. Like even the pass that he threw to even get them to a 25-yard line, there's only like 5 people in college making that throw, and that was on the money and on target. But the game on the line, there's a reason why Tennessee's #2 rushing team in the country. They don't trust him to make big throws, and that was never more apparent than on Saturday night. He did not make the big throws when it mattered most, and it costed Tennessee. And now in the game that they need to win, because their margin of error now is very slim.
Very
Not only that, you got Florida coming in. They'll beat Florida, but that number is 17.5. Like that is way too big. Way too big of a number. Just simply because don't fall in love with Tennessee's just looking down. Oh, they put up 70 on Kent State. When they've played real defenses, Nico's really struggled. If Oklahoma had competent quarterback play, they would have lost that game. Nico struggled in that game as well. The only difference is they hit 1 or 2 more explosives, and they got over 20 points. And they couldn't get over 20 points against Arkansas with their backup quarterback. Like, first of all, did you guys see the Arkansas quarterback injury? I think he dislocated his knee and then came back into the game.
Brutal. Yeah. Well,
I've dislocated my knee. You don't go back into the game. You don't.
Or maybe you do. He's just tougher than you, maybe.
No, because he came out to play later.
John, you need to get tough. You need to get tougher, man. Like,
hey, actually, my knee dislocated at Indian Rocks one time. Only people in San Rafael know that. And I made 1 of 2 free throws before I walked out. So I'm not Kobe because Kobe would. No, I think I was crying profusely as I was shooting the 2 free throws. But look, the Tennessee one did not surprise me as much because I sat here on this podcast last week and said I have major concerns with Nico. And now, look, again, I'm not saying Florida's going to win, but after Florida, you got Bama. Like, Bama is a way step up in competition, and you got Georgia down the line, and Georgia is the cream of the crop. And, look, Florida's defense looked to find something in that bye week and stopping the run. UCF was a top 10 running team in the country and had the most explosive running plays. Florida held them 26 rush yards in the first half. So, like, Nico's going to have to make throws in order for them to win and get in the playoff. And I really have concerns if he can make those throws.
Well, and I will say, like, Nico will be a fantastic talent in college football for years to come, right? Yeah. He's a freshman. He's probably 18. Redshirt freshman, so he's like 19 years old, right? Yeah. Like,
he's a kid.
He's incredible, right? But I agree with what you said. Like, Dylan Sampson is an incredible running back, but when you trail, you can't hand the ball off, right? So you hit it right in the head. And yeah, Tennessee's schedule.
They did a running play with like 15 seconds.
They did. But I will say Tennessee's schedule is not like a gauntlet by any means. Like, I understand they have Bama and Georgia, but like, let's not forget they still play like UTEP, who is probably the worst team in college football. No, they're worse than Purdue, buddy.
I don't know. Purdue's so bad.
Close game there.
But anyway, like, Tennessee to me is like this loss from Tennessee and this loss from Bama. All it does in my mind is it solidifies there's a 1A and there's a 1B in college football right now, and that's Texas and Ohio State. Like, sure, those two teams haven't maybe been challenged quite yet, right? But they will, right? We obviously know what's coming up this week. But, like, there's a 1A and there's a 1B. Like, and that's just the truth of the matter of college football right now. And until someone proves that they're even close to that belief or regimen, then it doesn't matter. Like, it really does not matter. Texas and Ohio State are the 1A and 1B of college football because, like Tanner said, a Nick Saban Bama team does never lose a game like that. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, right? And then this Tennessee game is simply a loss because they don't have maybe an experienced quarterback that can go out and win a game and come back from behind against a team like Arkansas that's like not terrible, right? They're a pretty good team, but definitely Tennessee should have beat them, right? Yeah. And I will say, to your point, and I was looking today, that Tennessee-Florida game, that line's already moved down to 15.5. So, like it's moving. So,
and maybe the full Florida thing's a mirage, but Florida has legit weapons on offense to go compete with everyone. I saw it in Nico during the Oklahoma game, just not being able to make some of these throws. But yeah, team, I know you were at the Purdue game. Unfortunately, you didn't get a lot of watch fully some of these games. But what's your take on it?
Yeah, well, when I check the box score and I see that Nico's averaging 6 yards per completions, And in that offense with Tennessee, that's a problem because that's an offense that should be running the ball powerfully. They have a power run scheme. They have a good running back, a good O line, and then they should be pushing the ball downfield vertically. And when you're averaging 6 yards per completion, that tells me you're not throwing the ball downfield very well. It's dink and dunk, and that's not going to work in the SEC, not even against Arkansas. So I would say that was my main takeaway. Wasn't able to watch a lot of college football this weekend. A little bit more locked in on the NFL, anyways, because my college football team sucks. But
So bad.
they're so bad. But no, I would describe how I would describe Tennessee and Bama both right now. To be honest, kind of like this Ole Miss LSU game this weekend. We'll get into that on Thursday's episode, I'm sure. But that Alabama Tennessee game could be an elimination game. It could be an elimination game for the 12-team playoff. And I mean, just like that, we're talking up Bama, we're talking up Tennessee, and boom, just like that, they have one more loss in them before it's like start to hit panic mode. And I don't know what their schedules if they're going to be able to withstand losses to Vanderbilt and Arkansas. I mean, it's got to be very concerning for Bama and Tennessee fans.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
Well, Bama has Tennessee, Mizzou, LSU, and Oklahoma. Those 4 games alone. Sure, there's a lot of frauds in those 4 teams that I just said.
There is.
But they lost to Vanderbilt. So let's not – you can't overlook a Missouri, right, who has the firepower when you lose to a Vanderbilt. So
Yeah. You guys know last time Arkansas beat a top 5 team at home?
I don't even know if it's ever happened.
2007.
Oh,
Very big 2007 vibes this season.
okay.
For those who don't know, 2007 is the last, and it might be the only time a 2-loss team won the national championship.
Yeah.
LSU won, who ironically I'm pretty sure is who Arkansas beat. Yeah.
Quick little hot take here. I was looking at someone's schedule in the SEC. Had them as my underrated team in the SEC preseason, and sure they had a tough loss at home week 1, but the Texas A&M Aggies,
They're rolling, man.
playoff is very real. They have a real path to the playoff. I mean,
We ought to apologize to Connor Weigman. We should formally write him a letter.
I'm staying solid on him.
We should write him a letter apologizing for what we said. We slandered him. Like he probably was never going to play college football again.
Well, first of all,
watched Banter.
people that we slander go out and perform. Look at DeAndre again.
Sure.
So I mean,
Riley Leonard sucks. He's so bad.
Well, again, that's,
oh my
those
God,
aren't
Tim
lies.
Walters is the worst head coach in football history. Like,
But you got a 1 in 10 chance of hitting. But
Yeah, I'll take it.
yeah, I mean, just a crazy weekend. But Missouri is so fraudulent. It's so fraudulent. I can't even believe it. Brady Cook might have fooled people last year. He didn't fool me. You want to talk about us under him? He sucks. The Missouri quarterback, and I get maybe he's hurt, and his offensive line is doing him no favors. I think they had like 8 pressures on him on 5 sacks. Texas A&M's D line completely dominated the game, and Luther Burden, who I'm being told is supposed to be like the second in, there's 4 receivers better than him.
Yeah, he's
Maybe at least stat wise, but like my opinion on Texas A&M might have changed a little bit. I still thought they were a really good team. Like it's not like Notre Dame isn't a bad team. And first game under your new head coach, that's almost an impossible situation to come in and win. And look, I still don't think Connor Weigman is very good. I hope he goes out and proves me wrong because I'd like to see A&M have success. But yeah, like the other games that happened, Michigan is also so fraudulent. I made the TikTok about it that I never thought they were a top 10 team. And how are you the University of Michigan and you don't have a quarterback that can throw like a 15-yard out route? Just I think they got – last year was their window, not just because of the sanctions that are coming. I don't think Michigan's NIL is where it needs to be because how awesome would it be for Michigan if they had Cam Ward? Or you know who beat them? Will Rogers. He transferred to Washington. Just to have that type of level of quarterback, Michigan is a completely different team. So, and then USC lost to Minnesota, another fraudulent team. USC does not have a win in the Big Ten. I'm pretty sure. I could be mistaken. I'm fairly certain they're 0-3, 0-2.
I think that's right.
Michigan and Minnesota.
Yeah.
Got a bye week. But
which like I said that, but like after the first 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, dang, that take's going to be terrible.
No.
And now they're Now
Hey,
they're
is that
sniffing Purdue
one
territory.
dude that was commenting like paragraphs to us in the YouTube shorts about USC? Like, you're wrong. I said it then when I commented back to you. Like, you don't know ball. And a lot of times we don't know ball, but you definitely don't know ball.
No, we definitely don't know ball, but you know less ball than we do.
But let's talk NFL, man. NFL. First of all, I don't want to talk about the Bucks. They pissed me off. They got screwed. That was a face mask. I don't want to hear anything else. Bucky Irving, don't give me that face. He grabbed and yanked back.
You can't. Here's the thing. I agree, and I would be saying the same thing if it happened to my team. But like, we can't talk about one team. We can't talk about one play for a 60-minute game.
You're right.
You know?
But you cannot miss that call. I mean,
Hey.
you can see it from the TV angle. And we've
Watch out
talked
for Kirk,
about,
man. Kirk he's drippy. Like,
well, okay, the Bucks are missing like 7 guys in their secondary. I could have carved them up.
I'm gonna stand with you here. I think the Bucks are legit. I'm not gonna let one loss ruin my.
I agree. No, I agree.
Legit team.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it goes back to officiating. Officiating has been ridiculously bad. I mean, we've talked about it. We've talked about it enough. But again, like national TV game, you can see it from the camera all the way up top in the press box that he got a face mask. And it just sucks when referees kind of have that big of an impact. But I don't want to talk about the Bucks. What I do want to talk, Tanner, you don't have to raise your hand.
I got my 1 through 5.
Buddy, we're not in class. We're not in class.
What'd you say, T?
I got my 1 through 5 NFL power rankings here, and before we
Oh,
break
let's
down
do
this game, I'd
Rip
like to give it to you guys because I haven't done it yet this year, and I think this was the
Rip
easiest.
This is setting up for a hot take moment because he wants to do this. So
There you go,
No,
T.
I just want you guys to react to it. At 1, I don't
Okay.
think anybody's going to argue with me. I have the Kansas City Chiefs. At
That's
2,
unfortunate.
I have the Minnesota Vikings. Pretty confident in having them at 2 right now. At 3, I've got the Houston Texans. At 4, I've got the Detroit Lions. And my 5 and 6 was my 5 really was between 2 teams, and they both play each other this weekend. And I put the Ravens ahead of the Commanders this week at my 5 spot. So let me know what you think of that.
Who was 4?
The Detroit Lions.
Okay. No, I don't hate that. I think the Ravens could be the best team in football. I don't care about their record. The level that Lamar Jackson is playing on right now is absolutely ridiculous. What he did to come back, and the Bengals did what they normally do. In the 5th game of the season, they looked good. Their offense, at least. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, they were working. But, I mean, God, Lamar Jackson. And I still have doubts about him completing passes in big-time games, like an AFC Championship and whatnot. But he's just so skilled. It's ridiculous. So is Jaden Daniels, and that's a heck of a game that's going to happen this weekend. But I mean, watching that Baltimore game, you're like, oh my goodness, like just absolutely different. So I know the Chiefs are 5-0, but right now Mahomes is throwing to freaking lawn chairs. And shout out Juju Smith-Schuster for having like 150 yards yesterday or whatever, just randomly. But I mean, God, Lamar's different.
Yeah, I agree with the team. I agree.
This is the best the Chiefs defense has ever been, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the key for the Chiefs this season because let's not act like Mahomes has not always been throwing to lawn chairs. Like most of the time, like he's got Travis Kelce and he's got a good receiver, right? And obviously they were set up for success. Rashee Rice gets hurt, right? Pacheco gets hurt. They get banged up, but like this just proves that like Mahomes is just great, but. I don't disagree with the teams that are in your top 5, but to Johnny's point, I think a lot of people in the country who talk sports, they want to put the Ravens as the number 1 or the number 2 best team in football but they can't, right? Rightfully so. The record is not, but the Baltimore Ravens, if you had to make me pick any team to win the Super Bowl this year, it's going to be them because a lot of people were like hesitant on this Derrick Henry signing because like he wasn't fantastic like in his later years with the Titans, but like he is one of the scariest backs probably to ever walk on the face of the earth.
Oh, don't say that.
I will firmly say that. Are you kidding me? He's 6 foot. I said one of the scariest. He's 6'4" and he's 260 pounds. Yeah, get out of the way. Get out of the way. Okay. And he has been unreal.
23 miles an hour at freaking top speed. That's freaking.
He has been unreal. He has been so good for the Ravens. And, like, the Ravens still, like, Mark Andrews, like, he used to be a household name for tight ends. Now he's god awful, I guess. But he's not even getting targets. he's like the left tackle. Like he's just out there to block, right? So I think the Ravens, they are so good. They have so much room to grow too that like the Ravens will win the Super Bowl. What day is it? October 8th? Yeah. The Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to beat the Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl.
I'm going to tell you why they're not and why they're not going to. I agree with you. I think they're a great team. I think that they are Super Bowl good. But I'm going to tell you why they won't win the Super Bowl. It's because in the playoffs, it's all about matchups. And when I look at the Texans and the Chiefs, that is a matchup nightmare for the Ravens. Because the Ravens' defense, while I think it's good, I don't think it's great enough to stop Patrick Mahomes. I don't think it's great enough to contain C.J. Stroud. And then when I go look at those two teams, the Texans and Chiefs, I'm still a little bit iffy on the Texans' run defense, but I think it's pretty good. And I think they can contain Lamar in that offense. And I know for a fact the Chiefs can stop the run. So that's why I don't think the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. I think they're good enough to. But when I look at those two other teams in the AFC, that's just a matchup nightmare for the Ravens, in my opinion.
Yeah, Tanner, I don't disagree with you.
Oh, he's still going.
Tanner's glitching for us. You guys will be able to hear it clearly. Anyway, I don't disagree with Tanner, but I think the Ravens are super good, and we've talked about them enough. The team that I want to give credit to, that even though they're 5-0, they're somehow not being talked about, is Minnesota. I mean, guys, this is really impressive what Minnesota is doing. And Tanner Brington was number 2, like as he should. But what they've done to replace Darnell Hunter, who would have costed them like what he signed for, like in between like $25 and $30 million. They went out and got Jonathan Grenard, who has more sacks and pressures than guys like Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt and people like that. And they got the Van Ginkel guy from Miami, who's insane.
A stud.
And look, shout out Sam Darnold, man. Like, look, we talked about last time. You talked about look, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, these guys that are resurrecting their careers with franchises that aren't atrocious. So it's good to see them get a second chance. So I just wanted to quickly give the Minnesota some love.
Yeah, give it some praise.
Another thing that stood out to me is what's going on with San Francisco, man. I mean, they don't. I know that they have some guys out, but look, I think looking back on it, even though Ayuk had a great game on Sunday, I think they're gonna really regret paying Brandon Ayuk that kind of money, just the way that the salary cap crunchers are gonna eventually come. But 2-3 going into a matchup against the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football, like scary. That is scary. So I mean, just wanted to highlight that real quick. That and then also Buffalo is like the worst team in football after being the best team in football for 3 weeks. And that was also something to highlight. Josh Allen at one time was like 6 of 23 or 9 of 23 for like 63 yards during the game. Really bad, but all right, you guys can talk about the Bears. I don't
how
want
about the Bears being 3-2, huh? How about it? Can we
I don't know.
get a clap for them? Johnny, clap for them.
No. You know who could beat Carolina right now? Vanderbilt.
Come on.
I'm just kidding. But Carolina is bad. But as Tanner mentioned last episode, man, they really got an advantageous part of their schedule coming up, and it's on them to capitalize.
Yeah, man, what a game. You know how many Bears games I can sit in the couch and not have to worry about? One, and it happened on Sunday, okay? Like, one game in the last 3 years of remembering, and I'm like, okay, like, dang, like, it's clicking, right? Because I was at the Bears-Panthers game last season on a Thursday night, and Tanner, tell me the final. I think it was 9-6.
13-9, I believe.
I don't know. 13 might not be right because I don't know if there was a touchdown. Like, so 13 might be tough, but I'm 90% sure there wasn't a touchdown in the Thursday night game that I went to. And I watched that Bears-Panthers game, and it was miserable. It was miserable. I was watching two terrible teams play. So it's amazing to see, and I'm wearing my Bears proud today, right? Because it's a day that we got to sit back and relax and say, hey, this team one day can be pretty good, right? And we were texting in the group chat. I texted Tanner. I added him because of our argument last week about Caleb being so good when he runs out of the pocket, and I'm standing on business on that. I think right now, that's where he will succeed the best. But like Tanner had said, when he does sit in the pocket, he is more than capable to throw. I just worry for his safety and his health if he sits in the pocket for too long. But it's good, man. Like we said before, Swift must be a subscriber to Backyard Banner because he's back. He's been a great running back. Only one negative I would say is I want to see Cole Kmet get a little more involved. Obviously, you're up 35 to whatever it was or whatever the final score was because I didn't really care because we were up big. But I want to see Cole Kmet get involved a lot because fantasy, Notre Dame, and whatever. But I think he's a hell of a tool. I really think Cole Kmet is a big piece for the Bears. Gerald Everett was rolling out there on Sunday and actually being okay. DJ Moore and Caleb Williams now seem to be close, right? Real close to being that dynamic two. And I'm really excited for it. The defense, unreal, as always. This was a Panthers game where I was kind of concerned about it. I'm not going to lie. I was going into this game and I was a little concerned because Andy Dalton the week before kind of just seemed to be there. And I get nervous on those games because we've seen the Bears lose a lot of football games. So I don't care who's coming into town or whatever. Like, we lose some of those football games. So it was amazing to see. I'm sure Tanner's got stuff to add on, but it was amazing to think that the Bears are 3-2. Now they're traveling across the pond. And, why not smile? Why not be happy for your Chicago Bears? I mean, we were singing the Chicago Bears song all Sunday because we were scoring so much, and it was amazing. So
it was amazing. It was very, very fun to watch. I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't have been worried about Andy Dalton and why we shouldn't be worried about Trevor Lawrence this Sunday. It's because the Bears defense is incredible. They have given up 21 or fewer points in 11 straight games. This is an elite NFL defense. The Bears are going to be in every game, no matter what. No matter who they play, their defense is good enough to keep them in the game. Offensively, they're starting to turn a corner. Very impressed with Caleb Williams. His progress week to week has been so impressive. And it's the first time I can confidently sit here in my life and say the Bears have a quarterback. It makes me smile. I can't just say it and not smile because I've never seen it. I don't know what it's like, and we have it. But no, seriously, I think the way he's spreading the ball around is great. You look at, I think we had like 6 guys with more than 2 catches. Very impressive. Keep spreading that ball around. Keenan Allen, we're 3-0 when Keenan Allen plays. He's got to stay healthy. I think he's a guy that in the near future is going to have a really, really big game. He's still a Hall of Famer. He's had a Hall of Fame career. He still can create separation. He still can go up and catch passes over defenders. I think Keenan Allen's going to get going. Teams are going to start keying in on DJ Moore a little bit more. That's going to open up Keenan. There's just so many weapons offensively. The O-line, granted, it's been 2 very below average D lines recently, but the O-line looks a lot better. They're actually getting a push in the run game. They're protecting Caleb. Very, very excited for this Bears team moving forward. I've been excited all offseason. Even when they were 1-2, I was still excited. At Soldier Field, can we talk about Soldier Field? Very tough place to play in 2024. They have now won, I believe that's 8 or 9 straight games at Soldier Field. I think that trend's going to continue for almost through the whole season. I mean, it's going to be really tough with that defense and that crowd behind it for teams to go in and win in Soldier Field this year. And the offense is really starting to turn a corner. Big game, like you mentioned, across the pond in London before the bye. If you're the Bears and you're going to be serious this year, you do exactly what you just did Sunday. You go blow out a football team that is not as good as you, not as talented as you, and shouldn't even be thinking the same things as you. The Bears are thinking playoffs. These teams are thinking first overall pick. Like, go blow them out and go show the rest of the NFL that you are for real. You got a bye week. And here's what I'm excited about. I don't want to get too far ahead, but the Bears go beat the Jags. They're 4-2. You get a bye. I think that Jaden Daniels versus Caleb Williams matchup coming off that bye is gonna get flexed to a 3:30 game with Nance and Romo, and I'm gonna be all over that game.
Heck
Can
yeah.
they do that? That'd be freaking electric.
Heck yeah. They can do whatever they want.
The 3:30 CBS game that week is Bengals Eagles. Would you rather watch Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels or Bengals Eagles right now? And I know my answer.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. That would be awesome. But
We need it.
yeah,
God, we deserve it.
We
We've
deserve
we've cried, we've weeped,
I will
me and
say,
Tanner got in arguments every Sunday with each other. Like we tested our friendship. We yelled in the podcast. We deserve to be good. I mean, come on.
yeah, I will say James is the most pessimistic fan of any team that I've ever met. I remember I was watching the Rams game with him, and the Bears punted, and the Rams had to go 98 yards to score a touchdown. And he's like, "It's over. The season's over. We're never gonna win again. Caleb
Yeah.
Williams is not the answer."
Yeah,
You know what I was
yeah,
gonna
because
say?
Cursed.
I'm used to it. I'm used to being let down. Like I'm used to being let down, and it hurts, and I can't. I just got to set myself up for it. Like
Here's my thing. It's different for everybody, but I've had a hell of a 2024 calendar year so far because
Yeah.
Purdue made the Natty, Pacers made a deep run, the Cubs I guess was frustrating. Purdue football doesn't even bother me
Purdue football.
because I've had such a good calendar year in 2024, and I was expecting it to roll over with the Bears, and so far it has. I'm enjoying this Bears team a lot. I've enjoyed my sports really, aside from the Cubs and Purdue football. I've really enjoyed my sports year so far, and I hope it continues. And I'm confident it will with the Bears.
All right, let's talk about baseball for a second because the
Yes.
baseball playoffs have been beyond electric. And right now, the Mets are about to go up 2-1 on the Phillies. They're blinking. Sean Manaea, known playoff performer, apparently in this playoffs, he's been unbelievable through 2 games. What's been the biggest surprise to you guys so far in the playoffs?
that exact matchup, because I predicted on this podcast whenever we filmed our MLB preseason whatever, I had the Phillies in the World Series, and if they don't make it to the World Series, here's the thing, you play the Mets, whatever. I saw something on Twitter that the team that knocked off the Brewers in the last however many years has made it
Yeah.
to so on, however far in the playoffs. I don't know if it was the NLCS or shoot, it might have even been the World Series. Like I don't know. But it's shocking because that Phillies team is just on paper so much better than the Mets. But playoff baseball is electric because if you get a pitcher that just wakes up and he just starts dealing, well, credit to you, and you can't stop him. Like truthfully, it's hard to stop. But I'm kind of shocked. I can't say I see that series still going 5. Obviously, I hope so because I want the Phillies to be in the World Series, so I look a little smarter. But that's to me probably the most shocking.
Yeah, I don't think anything's really shocked me so far. I think it's gone about how I expected it so far. I got to say, we've had some unbelievable moments so far. This has been a great postseason so far for baseball. I've been tuned in a lot. Typically, when the Cubs aren't in it, I'll watch, but not like sit down and seriously watch the playoffs. I've been locked in because these games have been so entertaining. You've had great moments, but one thing I got to say is, I think the playoff format needs to be changed. There needs to be considered a change because these teams that work their way to the first round bye every year have struggled in the playoffs, and they kind of are this year. And the fact of the matter is, you're telling a team that just had the best record in baseball, was going after it for 162 games, gets a first round bye. Oh, go relax for a week, go take some time off. While these other teams are still like they're still locked in, they're still playing. Like I just think it's unfair to those teams that have to take a week off, get out of rhythm, and then next thing you know, we haven't had a week off since. I mean, the All-Star break's not even a week off. You know what I mean? Like they're taking a week off. They haven't had a week off since before spring training. It's kind of ridiculous to me, this postseason format. I think there needs to be some type of change. I like how many teams make it, but I just don't think it really caters to the teams that had the best record in baseball all season long across the whole 162 games. With that being said, you get in that wild card series, you go win a best of 3 series, you're licking your chops. I mean, look at the Tigers, look at the Royals. The Mets are now going to be up 2-1. Padres might be the best team in the MLB right now.
Who's been on the Padres, James?
I'm still sleeping. I am snoring. I am sound asleep.
Then you're freaking tripping, James. The Padres are the most talented team in baseball.
They are.
I'll tell you what, man. What Fernando Tatis has done so far in his playoffs, not only this year, in his career, he's hitting over 340 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I told on this podcast that they have a 7th inning guy, they have an 8th inning guy, and a 9th inning guy. They literally shorten you to have to it's a 6-inning game with them most of the time. Because you got Tanner Scott, the best lefty in baseball, coming out of the bullpen, and then what are you gonna do with that? Look, Joe Musgrove being out is huge, right? It is big. But when you can shorten the game to only having to cover those 6 innings because you got Jason Adam, you got Tanner Scott. I always forget the last guy's name, the righty that throws 102. I literally have his card in MLB The Show too. Regardless, when you have those three, it's you can play a 6-inning game, and the Dodgers starting pitching, maybe outside of the Tigers, besides Skubal, is the worst in the playoffs. And frankly, I don't think it's close. And the only team that might have a better bullpen than San Diego is Cleveland, and that's because Cleveland has maybe the best relief pitcher from whenever Rivera retired, so like 2016 to now.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to back off. I think the Padres will win the World Series. I don't know who they're going to face in the AL because, frankly, the AL is wide open. And I don't care because I think the Yankees suck. If the Yankees get there, I think they'll get demolished. It would be cool to get Judge and stuff there. Judge is like 1 for his last 23 in the playoffs, by the way. He has not been good, and he needs to be good for the Yankees to make a run. And outside of Garrett Cole, who was very bad in his one playoff start, the Yankees have no pitching. They give Carlos Rodon like $126 million, and he's been atrocious since they've given him that contract. And I don't think their lineup is deep enough. And then how fun are the Royals? Like that, they are so fun to watch, man. I'm rooting for the Royals to make it to the World Series. But look, I've watched and will continue to watch every single pitch in the Dodgers Padres series because it is absolute cinema.
It's heated. It's true. Just like competitors, there's a lot on the line. It's history. It's
awesome.
They're fighting for Cali. Like
here's why I think it's going to end up being Tigers versus Royals, and why I think the Padres are going to beat the Dodgers. Johnny, you said it in the regular season, and you were correct about it. In the playoffs, when every pitch matters, every pitch is huge in the playoffs. It's different than the regular season, right? Like, it's not the same intensity. You're not locked in every pitch. In the playoffs, sure, the Yankees have a disgusting 2 through 5 in the batting order, but they got a couple easy outs in the bottom of that order. Here's why the Royals and Tigers and the Padres are going to be successful this postseason, because 1 through 9, there is not an at bat that a pitcher is starting and a single hitter in that 1 through 9 where he's going, oh, easy out, or like, oh, this isn't going to be as challenging. Every single at bat that those teams are up hitting, the opposing team pitcher is going to be grinding it out, and it's just way too hard to do that in October. You can't just those lineups are just way too deep, and that's why those teams are going to have success this October.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but
I'm still going to ride with Yankees Phillies. I mean, I can't just like switch up now; it's too late.
Yeah,
but I absolutely hate seeing the AL Central on the playoffs. They had 20 free wins in the season, so I absolutely hate it because they put. I mean, whatever. That's just a
White Sox
hatred. Phillies are coming back right now, by the way, as we speak. So
what's the score? 6-1.
Yeah, 6-1. But hey, watch out.
Hey, we'll cut it there. We'll get more MLB. Maybe on our next episode when we do prediction stuff. With episode after that, we should have the championship series set, which will be just electric. Regardless, I mean, Fox had to have a dream matchup. I mean, Mets, Phillies, and Dodgers, Padres. I mean, they've been getting huge numbers on those games. Yeah. But we'll end it there.
Even though the playoffs are better on TBS, I will stand by that.
Yeah. Really?
I agree with Tanner.
I love Joe Davis. I'm a big Joe Davis fan. But
I mean, both good, right? I mean, you can't complain.
I don't disagree. First of all, I love some freaking afternoon MLB baseball, MLB playoffs.
I get out of class today and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? Oh, the Mets and Phillies just started. Might as well turn it on.
Sure.
Well, we'll cut it there, guys. Obviously, a lot of stuff going back on home for me. We're still waiting. Thoughts and prayers back there also, but didn't want to get too much into it. Just kind of want to use this. And if you're watching this from back home, family and whatnot, as a distraction for the next 45 minutes or whatever. But anyway, if you guys watched all the way through, like, comment, subscribe, send it to someone, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
See ya.